Imagine a world where forests breathe, mountains move, and creatures defy explanation. What if I told you that in Earth's most untouched corners, these impossible wonders are real? Join us as we venture into the planet's wildest, most secluded places to uncover eco-mysteries that will redefine your understanding of nature. These are the last frontiers, vast, wild, and beyond human dominion, where beauty intertwines with danger, and where every discovery raises more questions than it answers. Chapter 1. The Lungs of the Planet Amazonia's Secret Pulse. In the depths of South America lies a living ocean of green, the Amazon rainforest. To call it vast is an understatement. Stretching over 5.5 million square kilometers, it is the beating heart of the planet's biosphere, a labyrinth of life so dense, so ancient, that it has shaped the very chemistry of Earth's atmosphere. From above it appears eternal, a boundless emerald sea under drifting clouds. But look closer and you begin to see it move. The forest breathes. Every dawn, as golden light filters through mist, millions of leaves awaken, releasing water vapor that rises into the air, condensing into clouds that drift and fall again. A complete cycle, born of its own creation. The Amazon generates half of its own rainfall, a feat unmatched by any other ecosystem. The trees don't just exist within their environment. They create it. Locals have always known this. They call it El Pulmón del Mundo, the lungs of the world. But perhaps they mean it more literally than we once thought. Scientists now know the forest doesn't just respond to the atmosphere. It communicates with it. Satellite data shows massive plumes of moisture spiraling into the upper troposphere, behaving almost like atmospheric arteries. The forest seems to sense when it must hold back moisture, when to release it, when to rest. A biological rhythm. A pulse. When researchers placed ultra-sensitive barometric sensors across the Amazon basin, they found subtle, repeating pressure changes, a low, steady oscillation that moves across hundreds of kilometers in perfect synchronization. No weather pattern could explain it. No known physical force matches its cycle. To many in the scientific community, this discovery hinted at something profound, the possibility that the forest itself behaves as a single, coordinated organism. Beneath the soil lies one of the most complex communication networks ever discovered, a vast underground web of fungi and roots known as mycorrhizae. Through it, trees share water, carbon, nitrogen, and, astonishingly, warning signals. When one area of the forest experiences drought, neighboring trees begin to conserve water even before they're affected. When insects attack a single grove, trees miles away increase their chemical defenses as though forewarned. In recent years, ecologists began calling this the Wood Wide Web, a living internet connecting billions of trees and plants into a single responsive network. But in the Amazon, this network behaves unlike anywhere else. Experiments with microelectrodes placed into root clusters revealed faint electrical-like pulses, patterns of voltage fluctuations eerily similar to the neural activity of an animal brain. Could this be a coincidence of chemistry? Or is it something deeper, an emergent form of consciousness born not in neurons, but in leaves and soil? When the first scientists proposed such a thing, they were dismissed as dreamers. Yet, over the past decade, the evidence has only grown stronger. In one study, sections of the forest were subjected to controlled drought conditions. The trees responded not as isolated individuals, but as a unit, redistributing resources, coordinating growth, minimizing loss. A system aware of itself. But science is not the only lens through which the Amazon reveals its mysteries. For the indigenous peoples who have lived within it for tens of thousands of years, the forest has always been alive, not metaphorically but literally. The Shipibo, deep within the Peruvian basin, speak of the Yura, the walking trees. They tell of nights when roots shift across the earth, seeking new rivers or escaping rising floods. In the morning, trails of disturbed soil appear, and in their place trees that once stood far away are now rooted anew. Biologists have long known that some tree species, like the Socratia exorhiza, can walk several centimeters a year by growing new roots in one direction and letting old ones die. But the legends tell of movement that happens overnight, too fast to be explained by growth. Some dismiss it as folklore. Yet when camera traps were placed in isolated groves, strange impressions were found in the earth, and in some cases, mature trees seem to have shifted centimeters between time-lapse frames. No definitive proof exists, but the forest guards its secrets carefully. At dusk, when light fades and the insects begin their evening symphony, another mystery emerges: the singing rivers. Deep vibrations hum through the ground, resonating at frequencies barely perceptible to human ears. Locals describe it as the heartbeat of the forest. In 2018, researchers from São Paulo University brought specialized equipment to record these subterranean tones. What they found astonished them. The vibrations weren't random. They followed a repeating musical pattern, a rhythm of low frequencies that rose and fell in harmony with moon cycles and rainfall. More remarkably, the intensity of the hum corresponded with changes in the ionosphere above the region, suggesting that the forest's resonance may interact with the atmosphere itself. To some, it's a strange coincidence. To others, it's the whisper of an ancient intelligence communicating through nature's instruments. Yet amid the beauty, the Amazon also holds danger, not only from human intrusion, but from itself. There are areas, locals warn, where the forest rejects trespassers. Valleys where compasses fail, where dense fog descends without warning, where sound becomes distorted. Explorers have reported hallucinations, time distortion, and even memory loss after venturing into certain zones. Some attribute this to hallucinogenic spores, others to magnetic anomalies. But deep within the forest, the line between science and myth blurs. One of the most infamous regions is the Vale du Javari, one of Earth's last uncontacted territories. Satellite images show strange geometric clearings arranged in perfect circles, untouched by modern civilization. No one knows who made them. When anthropologists attempted to approach, their equipment malfunctioned, radios failed, and footage came back distorted, as if the forest itself interfered. To this day, no comprehensive study has ever succeeded there. The Javari remains a blank spot on the map, a living reminder that the world still holds places beyond our reach. At night, the Amazon becomes another world entirely. Bioluminescent fungi cast a ghostly glow on the forest floor. Fireflies weave in synchronized spirals that mirror the constellations above. And in the rivers, the eyes of caimans reflect starlight like scattered jewels. But beneath the tranquil surface lies the pulse of something far older, something vast and knowing. Each leaf, each drop of water, each thread of fungal filament, part of a single breathing entity. For every discovery made here, a dozen new mysteries arise. Scientists still can't explain why the Amazon basin maintains its humidity even during drought years, or how its carbon absorption seems to self-balance despite. Somehow the system corrects itself, adapts, endures. Perhaps the forest remembers. Perhaps in ways beyond human comprehension, it feels. It's said that if you stand long enough beneath its canopy, the forest begins to speak to you. Not in words, but in sensations, a whisper in the wind, a vibration in the air, a subtle awareness of being observed. Those who live here say it's not superstition. It's simply listening. And if you listen closely enough, you can hear the earth itself breathing. Chapter 2. The Blue Depths. Secrets of the Abyssal Zone. Before we dive deeper, take a moment to breathe. You've journeyed with us through the living heart of the planet, through forests that breathe and rivers that sing. And if you've made it this far, know this. You are part of a rare kind of exploration, the kind that asks not only what lies out there, but what it means for us to exist alongside it. So stay with us to the end, because what comes next is not just another chapter of discovery. It's a descent into a world so alien, so untouched that it challenges our very idea of what life on Earth truly means. Now take a deep breath. We're going down. Beneath the restless skin of the ocean lies a darkness that no sunlight has ever touched, a realm stretching down into the unknown, where pressure crushes, light dies, and time itself seems. This is the Abyssal Zone, the largest habitat on the planet, and yet the least understood. We've mapped the Moon and Mars in greater detail than our own seafloor. But in these depths, miles below the surface, entire ecosystems thrive, built on rules that defy everything we know about. Here, life doesn't follow the sun. It follows the heat of the Earth itself. When the first deep-sea probes descended into the Mariana Trench, scientists expected emptiness, a silent, sterile void. What they found instead was abundance. Creatures with transparent flesh and glowing veins drift through eternal night. Shrimp-like beings with mirrored eyes reflect light that shouldn't exist. And then there are the vents, massive fissures where boiling mineral water gushes from the seafloor, creating underwater volcanoes of heat and light. Around them swarm forests of white tubeworms, ghost crabs, and eyeless eels, all living without a single ray. Their energy comes from chemical reactions with sulfur and methane, a process known as geosynthesis. It was a revelation that changed everything we thought we knew about life. For billions of years we believed the sun was the source of all energy, but in the blackness of the deep, life thrives without it. These creatures are not survivors of the dark, they are masters of it. In 2022, a robotic submersible exploring a trench near Guam recorded something that baffled scientists: patterns of bioluminescent light, appearing and disappearing in geometric order. They weren't random flickers or schools of fish. The lights pulsed in coordinated spirals, forming intricate lattice across the ocean floor, perfect, rhythmic, and deliberate. When analyzed, the pulses followed ratios identical to harmonic frequencies, as though the organisms were responding to an unseen symphony. Some biologists proposed a form of chemical synchronization, but no known mechanism could explain the precision. Others, more daring, suggested we might be witnessing the first signs of collective behavior on a microscopic level, colonies of life acting as one, much like neurons firing within a brain. If true, this would mean that even at the bottom of the sea, intelligence may not belong to individuals, but to the environment itself. The deeper we go, the stranger it becomes. At around 11,000 meters, the pressure reaches 1,000 times at its sea level. Metal bends. Electronics fail. And yet, within this crushing blackness, life endures, soft-bodied, translucent, untouchable. There are creatures whose bodies are mostly water, with bones of gelatin, whose skin refracts what little light exists into rainbows. Some species are so fragile that when captured, they dissolve before reaching the surface, their existence confirmed only by fleeting video footage. And then there are the shadow swimmers. For years, sonar readings have captured massive moving objects below 10,000 meters, too large to be whales, too slow to be geological shifts. When ROVs approached, the shapes disappeared, leaving trails of warm water in their wake. To this day, no one knows what they are. Some suggest schools of enormous invertebrates. Others whisper of creatures evolved to evade detection entirely. Organisms that sense electromagnetic energy and flee before our machines even arrive. Perhaps they've always been there, watching, waiting. But the greatest mystery may not be the creatures. It may be the ocean itself. In 2019, scientists recorded deep rhythmic pulses in the Pacific. The sound repeated every 14 minutes, resonating over 3,000 kilometers. It wasn't seismic. It wasn't volcanic. It was organic, as if the ocean were exhaling. These pulses aligned with subtle changes in temperature and current. Some oceanographers now believe they are evidence of a global underwater oscillation, a heartbeat of the sea, regulating its own currents. If the Amazon breathes air, perhaps the ocean breathes water. Yet for all its beauty, the deep sea can be hostile, a place where survival demands impossible adaptations. The anglerfish, with its eerie bioluminescent lure, survives by creating light in the dark. The vampire squid, despite its name, doesn't hunt. It feeds on drifting detritus, folding itself into a ghostly cloak to avoid detection. And the snailfish, discovered at record depths, has skin so delicate that it would collapse if brought into daylight. Each is a masterpiece of evolution, a reminder that life will find a way in even the most unforgiving realms. But some life forms seem to go beyond adaptation. They appear to remember. On a 2023 dive, researchers collected microbial samples from beneath a hydrothermal vent in the Atlantic. When sequenced, the DNA revealed structures nearly identical to ancient organisms believed extinct for over 2 billion years. Some called them living fossils, others echoes of the first life. Could the deep ocean be a biological time capsule, preserving the earliest forms of existence, or perhaps still creating new ones in isolation? If evolution on the surface was shaped by sunlight and air, what unimaginable branches might have grown in the darkness below? The more we learn, the more the deep seems less like an alien world, and more like an ancient mind, one that has been alive since the beginning, evolving slowly, silently, beneath our awareness. And then there are the structures. Across certain trenches, sonar mapping has revealed vast geometric formations, hexagonal ridges, circular mounds, and perfectly linear depressions stretching for miles. They don't match tectonic movement nor any known geological process. When remotely operated cameras approached one such formation off the coast of Japan, they found mineral pillars arranged like stone towers, each emitting faint heat signatures. No explanation fits neatly. Some say methane vents carved them. Others suggest microbial mats that grew and fossilized in unusual symmetry. But when you look closely at the footage, it's hard not to see intention in the design, as if something or someone built patterns into the seafloor itself. Nature has always been an artist. But down here, the art borders on communication. The ocean remains a paradox, both cradle and crypt of life. It is Earth's greatest mystery, hiding answers to our origins, and perhaps even our future. Because if life can flourish in total darkness, under unimaginable pressure, in complete silence, then life is not fragile. It is inevitable. And maybe, just maybe, it isn't confined to the surface at all. Maybe the ocean doesn't just host life. Maybe it is life, vast, sentient, ancient, and still dreaming beneath the waves. The abyss has never been silent. We've simply not learned how to listen. Chapter 3. The Arctic mirrors ice that remembers. Welcome to the Arctic, the place where Earth remembers. There's a moment when you first set foot on the polar ice that your senses falter. The air feels heavy, not because of its weight, but because of its age. Every breath is ancient. Every gust of wind carries molecules that haven't touched warmth for millennia. The horizon stretches infinitely, a landscape of white and blue so pure it defies comprehension. But beneath this frozen surface lies a world in motion, a hidden machinery of ice and water, grinding, shifting, and whispering to itself. The Arctic and its counterpart, the Antarctic, are not barren wastelands. They are memory vaults, immense crystalline archives holding the story of Earth's past. In every layer of ice, bubbles of air are trapped, tiny fossils of ancient atmospheres. Within them lie records of volcanic eruptions, meteor impacts, even the breath of forests long vanished. When scientists drill deep into these ice cores, they're not just studying temperature or carbon. They're listening to echoes of climates that existed before humanity ever drew its first map. But sometimes those echoes speak louder than expected. In 2018, a team of Russian scientists thawed a small piece of permafrost extracted from Siberia's Kolyma River basin. Inside, they discovered a microscopic creature, a nematode worm, perfectly preserved for 46,000 years. When warmed, it began to move. It wasn't just alive, it was aware. For nearly 50 millennia, it had been locked in frozen stasis, its cellular chemistry suspended, its metabolism paused, yet it endured. To this day, researchers struggle to explain how. Its DNA remained pristine, untouched by decay. It was as if the Arctic had kept it safe, holding it like a memory that refused to fade. Since then, more discoveries followed. Moss revived after 1,500 years. Viruses reactivated from the Pleistocene, microbes that still metabolize after an ice age's work. Life, it seems, does not merely endure in the Arctic. It waits. But life is not the only thing stirring beneath the ice. In 2014, seismologists began recording mysterious tremors beneath Greenland. They weren't earthquakes, they were rhythmic, repeating, occurring every 23 minutes with uncanny precision. At first it was dismissed as instrument error. But as more sensors were placed, the pulses appeared across thousands of kilometers, always the same interval, always the same signature. What could shake the ice with such consistency? Some hypothesized hidden magma chambers, others subglacial rivers of meltwater surging through unknown caverns. But when sound data was cross-referenced with electromagnetic readings, an even stranger correlation emerged. The pulses aligned with fluctuations in Earth's magnetic field. Something beneath the ice was not just moving. It was resonating. The Inuit have long spoken of these phenomena in their stories. They'd call it Silatunik, the thinking ice. In their legends, the land is alive, conscious, aware of every footstep. It remembers those who walk across it. When the wind howls across the tundra, they say it is not mere weather, but the ice speaking, recalling the footsteps of ancestors, whispering them back into the air. To science, these may be mythic metaphors, but the more we study the Arctic, the more it behaves as if the myths are right. During polar night, when the sun disappears for months, the ice reveals another mystery, the luminous columns. Imagine standing beneath a black sky, and suddenly, vertical beams of light rise from the horizon, glowing blue, green, or white. They shimmer silently, stretching into the heavens. For decades, these pillars were explained as a trick of the atmosphere, ice crystals reflecting artificial lights. But in remote areas where no light sources exist, the pillars still appear, pulsing faintly in rhythm with auroral activity. In 2020, magnetometers placed near Svalbard recorded surges of electromagnetic energy precisely synchronized with these lights. They seem to originate from below the ice, not above it. No conclusive explanation exists. Some physicists speculate on piezoelectric reactions, pressure within the ice, converting into bursts of energy. Others wonder if the ice itself may be acting like a planetary capacitor, discharging stored electricity into the air. Whatever the cause, these Arctic lights are not the familiar northern auroras. They are colder, sharper, almost deliberate. Then there are the mirrors. In certain regions of Greenland, the ice behaves strangely under specific conditions. Satellite imaging has revealed vast reflective plains, surfaces that bounce radar signals so perfectly they distort data readings. When drones approached these sites, instruments failed. Compasses spun. Video feeds cut to static. Pilots described a sensation of weightlessness, as if gravity weakened. And then, for a brief moment, perfect silence, the kind that feels like the world itself has stopped breathing. When the drones recovered signal, they found themselves kilometers away from their last recorded location. These events remain unexplained, but one geophysicist called them temporal dislocations, suggesting that sudden electromagnetic fluctuations might interfere with time, synchronization in instruments, creating what appears as a jump in space. Whether physical or psychological, these encounters add to the growing sense that the Arctic is more than a place. It's an entity, one that distorts not only the landscape, but perception itself. Even the animals here seem to move with an uncanny intelligence. Arctic terns navigate from pole to pole with impossible precision. Following magnetic fields, scientists still struggle to map. Narwhals dive deeper than most submarines, their tusks sensitive enough to detect minute shifts in salinity. Polar bears trek across miles of featureless ice without ever losing direction. They are not guided by sight or scent or instinct alone. It's as if they sense something, an unspoken pattern, a rhythm beating beneath the frozen ground. Some researchers now propose that the Arctic emits low-frequency sound waves, infrasound inaudible to human ears, but detectable by animals. If true, the Arctic would function as an acoustic world, one where life moves in harmony with the Earth's own vibrations. But perhaps the most haunting mystery lies below the ice sheets, in the subglacial lakes. Hidden beneath kilometers of frozen crust, these lakes have been sealed off from the surface for millions of years. The most famous of them, Lake Vostok in Antarctica, covers an area larger than Connecticut, yet no sunlight has ever touched its waters. When samples were taken, they revealed over 3,500 unique genetic sequences, none of which matched any known organism. In a world cut off from the sky, evolution has written its own private story. And some sequences didn't even fit into the tree of life as we understand it. They were alien not from another planet, but alien to our comprehension of Earth. One biochemist described them as life rewritten. As the polar regions warm, ancient ice melts, and with it, secrets long entombed begin to awaken. Viruses, dormant for millennia, emerge into a world that has forgotten them. Gas pockets burst open, releasing whispers of ancient air. And deep beneath the glaciers, new rivers form, their flows guided by forces we barely grasp. Each melt, each crack, each echo through the ice reminds us, this is not a dead world. It's an organism in transition, remembering, shifting, and revealing pieces of itself, one thaw at a time. The Arctic is not silent. It is a library of sound, its stories told in wind and water, and vibration and light. It speaks in frequencies too low for our ears, in temperatures too cold for our skin. And perhaps that is why we find it haunting. Because deep down, we recognize something of ourselves in its memory, our origins, our fragility, our reflection in the frozen mirror of time. The Arctic remembers, and whether we listen or not, it is still speaking. Chapter 4. Desert Enigmas, Life in Impossible Places. When you picture a desert, what do you see? Endless dunes, relentless sun, silence so complete it hums in your ears. But deserts are not dead, they're paradoxes. They are the earth stripped bare, revealing its bones. They are the crucibles of creation, places where life learns to defy the impossible. And within them lie secrets that challenge everything we know about evolution, memory, and survival. In the Namib Desert in southwest Africa lies a phenomenon that has puzzled scientists for decades, the fairy circles. Perfectly round patches of barren land, each surrounded by a ring of lush grass. They stretch for hundreds of miles, like an alien code etched into the Earth's skin. No one agrees on what makes them. Some say they're created by termites, tiny architects regulating water beneath the sand. Others argue they're formed by self-organizing plants competing for scarce moisture, following a mathematical pattern known as Turing structures, natural algorithms found in coral, animal coats, and even galaxies. But satellite imaging has revealed something far stranger. The circles aren't random. They shift, fade, and reappear, migrating slowly over time, as if alive. Every few years, new circles form while old ones vanish, yet their overall pattern remains consistent, an evolving geometry, like a thought, repeating itself across centuries. When temperature and magnetic data were cross-analyzed, researchers found a subtle pulse, electromagnetic fluctuations synchronized with the circle's migrations. Whatever causes them moves not just through soil, but through energy. In another desert, the Atacama of Chile, lies the driest place on Earth. Some regions haven't seen rain in over 400 years. NASA scientists come here to test Mars rovers because the landscape is almost identical, barren, oxidized, lifeless. Or so they thought. When they drilled into the salt flats and collected samples from beneath the crust, they found microbial colonies thriving in microscopic water pockets, invisible to the eye. These life forms survive on sunlight and trace gases, metabolizing slowly, almost thoughtfully, in a world where water exists only as vapor. In one sample, they found DNA so ancient and so unique that it didn't fit any known branch of the evolutionary tree. Some biologists now suspect these microbes might represent one of Earth's earliest life experiments, organisms that never went extinct, just adapted in silence. In the words of one researcher, the Atacama is not a desert of death. It's a museum of persistence. But deserts don't only hold life, they hold memory. In 2013, while mapping the Sahara using deep penetrating radar, archaeologists discovered a vast buried river system beneath the sand as large as the Nile itself. Its channels, perfectly preserved, flow invisibly beneath dunes that haven't moved in 10,000 years. And then, something even stranger. Along those ancient riverbeds lay remnants of structures, stone alignments, circular mounds, and patterns too geometric to be random. Some believe these may be the remains of a forgotten civilization, one that thrived during the Sahara's Green Age, when it was a vast savanna filled with lakes and forests. Others think they're natural formations sculpted by time. But satellite magnetometry revealed faint signatures of iron, remnants of tools, or perhaps fire pits. Whatever their origin, they whisper of a time when the desert was not barren, but alive. And if that's true, then deserts are not wastelands. They're palimpsests, the earth rewriting itself atop its own forgotten history. The desert is also full of sounds that should not exist. In the Rub al-Khali, the empty quarter of Arabia, explorers have reported singing dunes. When wind passes over their slopes, the sand hums, a deep, resonant tone that can last for minutes. It's not random noise. It's musical, structured, almost harmonic. Every dune sings in a different pitch, depending on the size and shape of its grains. But here's where it gets strange. The tones often shift when people approach. Recordings show subtle frequency modulations, synchronized with footsteps and voices, as if the dunes respond to presence. In 2019, researchers used spectrographic analysis and found complex overtones, resembling acoustic interference patterns produced by layered frequencies, something no simple wind mechanism could explain. When the recordings were sped up, faint rhythmic patterns appeared, not unlike Morse code. Coincidence, perhaps. But when compared across multiple sites, the same phrases repeated. Nature's language, written in vibration. Farther east, in the Gobi Desert of Mongolia, archaeologists have discovered glass-like sheets scattered across miles of barren terrain. At first, they were thought to be the remnants of ancient meteor impacts, but the fusion temperatures required to create such glass far exceed any known natural event in the region. Some of the samples contained traces of zircon melted at over 3,000 degrees Celsius, hotter than volcanic lava. Yet no impact crater exists. What could have generated that kind of heat? Some scientists propose ancient lightning storms of unimaginable intensity. Others suspect human involvement, lost technologies from forgotten ages. The Mongolian elders tell a different story, that long ago the sky itself fell, and the sands turned to mirrors. Whether myth or memory, the evidence remains, a desert vitrified by fire. But deserts aren't only found on Earth. Our neighboring planets, Mars, Mercury, even Titan, bear endless deserts of dust and stone. And when scientists compared Martian soil samples to the Atacamas, the chemical fingerprints were eerily similar. Same salts, same iron oxides, same structures of silica that preserve microbial fossils. It's as if deserts are universal, a planetary stage where life either ends or begins. One astrobiologist described it best. If you want to understand the origin of life, don't look in the ocean. Look where life shouldn't exist, and yet does. But perhaps the most haunting desert mystery is found beneath the sands of Egypt. The White Desert, known for its ghostly chalk formations, hides something beneath its surface. Vast caverns lined with crystalline walls. Inside one of them, researchers found carvings unlike any other Egyptian art, patterns of spirals, concentric circles, and humanoid figures seemingly floating, and carbon dating placed them far older than the pyramids, possibly older than agriculture itself. What civilization could have created them in a region thought uninhabitable? The symbols, when translated through various ancient linguistic frameworks, roughly spell out one idea repeated over and over. The watchers beneath. Some dismiss it as coincidence, natural erosion mistaken for design. But others believe these carvings were left by a culture that lived during a wetter age, and that their message was meant to outlast the shifting sands. A warning or a memory. Deserts are storytellers. They hide their truths beneath silence, forcing us to listen differently, to patterns, to echoes, to the geometry of emptiness. They remind us that survival is not loud. It's quiet, patient, relentless. And in that silence, in that stillness, lies a kind of wisdom no lush forest or busy city could ever teach. The desert doesn't shout to be understood. It waits, and those who endure long enough to hear it realize it was never empty at all. The Earth's extremes, from the coldest ice to the hottest sand, share one strange common thread. They remember. They adapt, and they whisper of something greater, a consciousness not human, not divine, but planetary. Each desert, each ocean, each glacier is a fragment of that living memory, and when you listen long enough, you begin to hear the earth breathing. Chapter 5. The Forgotten Depths, Secrets Beneath the Seafloor. Before we begin this final descent, let me say this. If you're still here, still listening, still journeying through Earth's hidden frontiers, thank you. You've walked through breathing forests, plunged into abyssal darkness, touched ice that remembers, and crossed deserts of silence. Few stay until the end, but you did, and that says something about you. Curiosity is the last true frontier. It's what drives explorers, dreamers, and those who dare to ask what lies beyond the known. So as we approach the final chapter, I invite you to stay until the last moment. because what you're about to hear may change how you see our planet forever. Beneath the ocean floor, beneath the weight of continents, beneath the crust of the world itself, there is another realm, a hidden earth, unseen and largely unimagined. We once thought the sea floor was the planet's final layer minus rock, sediment, fossilized remains of the ancient world. But we were wrong. There is life there, not on it, within it. It began with a strange discovery in 2010. Deep drilling off the coast of Japan uncovered something extraordinary. Microbial life, 2.5 kilometers beneath the seabed, trapped in ancient clay and basalt. Their metabolism was so slow, it would take thousands of years for them to divide once. They were alive, but barely. Scientists called them zombie microbes. But that name doesn't do them justice. Because these organisms aren't dead, they're in a kind of biological sleep, existing on energy so faint, so minimal, it's almost metaphysical. Some researchers now believe this is the oldest continuous ecosystem on Earth, an unbroken lineage stretching back billions of years, surviving the rise and fall of continents. And what's most astonishing, these microbes aren't just surviving in rock, they are changing it. Their slow biochemical processes alter the minerals around them, creating crystalline networks that can store and transmit electrons. In other words, the rock itself becomes a conductor, a living circuit. Life and stone fused. This idea has led to one of the most profound theories in modern Earth science, that the planet's crust may be partially alive, a self-regulating biogeochemical system that cycles matter and energy far below the surface. If true, it would mean that life on Earth didn't just emerge on the planet. It's interwoven with it. A scientist once described it like this: the Earth isn't a world with life. It is life. In 2017, oceanographers exploring the mid-Atlantic ridge detected inexplicable heat signatures, not from magma, but from within cold sediment layers. When sensors were lowered, they recorded faint electrical oscillations, rhythmic, pulsing, steady. When plotted on a timeline, those pulses formed patterns nearly identical to brainwave frequencies. Coincidence? Maybe. But the data was consistent across multiple sites. Some suggested it was geothermal resonance, vibrations caused by tidal flexing of the crust. But others dared to wonder, could the Earth itself have a heartbeat? To understand this, we must return to the vents, those towering black smokers of the deep. Recent dives have revealed vents that behave like breathing organisms. They open, close, and pulse in cycles of pressure and temperature, sometimes synchronized across miles of seafloor. At first, scientists assumed it was a quirk of fluid dynamics. But synchronized across separate vents? Across entire tectonic regions? It suggested coordination, an underlying mechanism of communication, perhaps driven by electromagnetic resonance through the crust. It's as if the Earth's internal systems, its heat, its chemistry, its magnetic fields are speaking in the language of cycles. And then came the discovery that truly shook the field. In 2024, a research expedition drilling into an ancient subduction zone retrieved a core sample unlike anything before, a layer of sediment fused with organic material that emitted faint electrical currents even after being sealed and isolated. When exposed to water, the current intensified. The material behaved like a living biofilm, yet it had been buried for over 60 million years. It wasn't fossilized. It was dormant. And when conditions were restored, it woke up. Under a microscope, researchers saw movement, filaments extending and retracting, connecting in web-like patterns. Within hours, the sample stabilized into a self-organizing structure, forming tiny channels as if it were rebuilding itself. It wasn't a creature in any traditional sense. It was a network. And when scientists applied a low-frequency electromagnetic field, the structure responded, shifting and pulsing in tune. Not random, responsive. What they had uncovered was something beyond biology, perhaps a relic of an ancient system, or the first glimpse of Earth's hidden intelligence. Imagine this, a living network spanning the crust, invisible, silent, eternal. Not conscious in a human sense, but aware in its own way, sensing heat, movement, pressure, magnetic change, everything that happens above. If such a network exists, then life on the surface, forests, oceans, humans, might be its expression, like thoughts arising in a single vast mind. We and everything we know could be part of a living planet trying to understand itself. But there's another layer of mystery, the one beneath the crust. Seismologists have long recorded deep tremors that occur miles below where earthquakes form. These aren't caused by tectonic shifts, but by something else, something rhythmic, persistent, and global. The tremors follow no pattern tied to fault lines or volcanoes. Instead, they occur in wave-like bursts, circling the planet every few months, always in the same sequence. It's as though the planet itself is releasing tension, not mechanical, but energetic. Some have likened it to the slow beating of a heart. Others to the whisper of something old and alive, moving beneath the crust. Now imagine, what if the deep ocean floor, the buried rivers, the crystal caverns, all these separate mysteries are not separate at all? What if they're all connected, expressions of a single living system we've only glimpsed in fragments? From the deep microbes that create electric minerals, to the vents that breathe in synchrony, to the tremors that pulse like a global rhythm. Each could be part of the same phenomenon, Earth's hidden metabolism. The biosphere, the hydrosphere, the atmosphere, and now the geosphere. Life, it seems, doesn't just inhabit Earth. It is Earth. There's a moment that every deep-sea researcher describes, the instant when the lights of the submersible go out and all you can see is darkness. And in that darkness you realize the world doesn't need you to see it to exist. It's always been there, waiting, watching. Maybe the true frontier isn't out there in space or in the depths. Maybe it's beneath our feet, in the slow, patient heartbeat of a planet that's been alive far longer than we've known how to listen. As we rise back toward the surface, back toward light and air, remember this. We live on a miracle disguised as a rock. A world that breathes through trees, thinks through oceans, and remembers through stone. Every wave, every storm, every whisper of wind is a fragment of something greater, a planet not built for us, but alive with us. And perhaps when all is said and done, the greatest mystery is not how life began, but how it never ended. Voice softens, closing reflection. The last frontiers are not out there in the stars. They're here, beneath our oceans, under our mountains, within our deserts. hidden in plain sight, waiting for those who care enough to look deeper. Because the real secret of this planet is simple. Earth isn't just our home. It's alive, and it's still writing its story. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next parts.